Picture this, you're walking into an interview oozing with confidence. Why? Because you know you got some awesome killer projects as a beginner working in the cloud. In this video, I'm going to give you some projects to work on to really make your CV stand out and give you something to talk about during your interviews. I've worked at AWS now for over a year, and the most common question I get from beginners and people coming into the cloud is, what projects should I work on to make their CV stand out and also to give them some cloud experience? In this video, I'm going to give you a roadmap that I wish I got before joining AWS on the projects that I think you should work on. Let's get started. By the way, my name is Martini. I'm a solutions architect at AWS, and I'm making some videos to help anybody and everybody to get into the cloud and also get into AWS. Make sure to watch more of my videos if you're interested in tech, cloud, and AWS. Project 1. The first project I'm going to ask you to build is a free tier web application. This is one of the most fundamental web architectures you need to know about, and so it's going to give you a really good experience to get hands-on into the cloud and develop something that actual people and actual organizations use. This project is going to show you some of the most core AWS services, like the most important ones, and definitely things you need to understand. It's going to show you services like EC2, RDS, which is a database, and AWS VPCs. And through that, you're going to architect a free tier web application. Genuinely can't stress that these core concepts are like the most core concepts. Anything on top of the cloud, in my opinion, is like built on top of this sort of architecture and these services. These core services are so important. Anything we're going to learn in the future is going to be based upon these concepts we learn in this project. This project is pretty cool because you're going to use a load balancer. The load balancer is then going to send these requests to web servers, which is going to be hosted on EC2 instances that are hosting something called an NGX web server. It's one of those weird things which I personally never understood, but just understand that it's some software that turns your computer into a web application. And then this web application is going to store data in a database, and it's going to do that processing and storing the data and retrieving the data depending on what the request is. It's going to make you think about some stuff like availability and redundancy, so it's a really, really great project. I recommend you to do this workshop because, one, it's going to introduce you to like the AWS console. Number two, as I mentioned, it's a really core architecture that you should know and need to know. And three, once you've built this, everything else we're going to build in the future is going to make a lot more sense. Project 2. So this next project I'm going to ask you to work on is another workshop. We're going to be looking into serverless technology. The goal of this project is to show you the power of serverless and how you can move so much faster with it, as well as lower the total cost of ownership. It's where I see most builders and developers move to once they're in the cloud, so it's a really good experience to understand what serverless is. So what we're going to do is build the application and database tier we did in project 1, but using serverless services. So we're kind of doing a similar thing, but I just want to show you what it looks like using serverless technologies. I love serverless services. Lambda is basically going to be your best friend. It's such a cool service to use, and it's going to change your life, like genuinely change your life. And then we're also going to learn about DynamoDB, which is a really cool NoSQL database. I'm going to guess you probably heard of like SQL databases like MySQL or Postgres. DynamoDB is quite different to it, but it's really easy to use and it's really cool. So I recommend you to do this serverless workshop. Serverless for me is what makes cloud really interesting and also shows the innovation that you can do in the cloud. Just as an example, I was able to build an internal application at AWS using serverless within like days, which may have taken me weeks to do if I had to use like traditional stuff. So welcome to the cloud. You know, this is the new age. Check out serverless. If you're new to the cloud and you want a more guided experience of getting into the cloud, come check out my course. It's called Born in the Cloud, and it's for those of you that were born like after 2000, where you know you grew up with iCloud, you grew up with the cloud, you know it's something, you didn't work in tech before. This is the perfect course for you. Go check out in the comments below. Sponsored by me. Project 2.5. The reason why this is Project 2.5 is because I'm going to introduce you something called WellArchitected. And WellArchitected is a framework that was developed by AWS, and from years of experience of working in the cloud and building applications in the cloud, it's almost like a checklist of what you would consider a well-architected application built in the cloud. The way I like to see it is that the WellArchitected defines like the gold standard of where you want to be, and the WellArchitected framework helps you to get there by saying, hey, you're missing this part in your security, or you're missing this part in your operations. Give it a read, and don't worry if you don't like understand everything. I just want to put it inside of your head so that you start thinking in a cloud perspective. For those of you that were in IT previously, you need to shift your mindset to use the cloud for what it is, and not try bring in your old boomer sort of mentality of what tech and IT should be into cloud. Use the WellArchitected to help you to get there. If you want, go watch some reInvent videos because they're really good and they explain a lot more of this in detail. But give this a read. And bonus tip, if you mention WellArchitected during your AWS interview, you're going to be quite impressive, because it's one of those things as a solutions architect we absolutely love, and we do it day in and day out with our customers. So you can bring that up during an interview. You got points, sir. Oh man. Project 3. And last but not least, to round up all the different types of compute within the cloud, this third project is going to be working with container technology and deploying that into the cloud. If you're a builder or developer, you may have worked with containers like Docker before. It's a very common way to deploy applications into the cloud, so it's one of those projects which you definitely should have a know-how. There are a few ways to deploy container applications into the cloud. Now, I'm not going to give you the easiest way, because there are a few services that make deploying containers really easy. Because it's faster and easier, it abstracts some of the stuff. And hence why I'm going to make you choose like the normal way in which I see most customers deploy containerized applications. And once again, we're going to do something similar to projects 1 and 2 by building the application tier and the database tier in containers. And so now you've seen 3 different ways to deploy a very similar application into the cloud. Now, there's no right or wrong way. It really just depends whereabouts you are in your journey. For example, if you were to work in an enterprise company, like one of those big FTSE 500 companies, they're probably more used to like the first way we've done things, where they have traditional servers or VMs and they just deploy stuff to that. And serverless technologies are commonly used by startups. And the third project you've worked on now is one of those in-betweens, where you could be startups, you could be large companies, but some medium companies could be using containers, so it's really useful to know containers as well. As a bonus tip, if you've got all the way here and you're really enjoying some of this content and you've already gone through all of these 3 different workshops, firstly, kudos to you, well done, congratulations. Here's some extra resources to make you stand out even more during your interview. The first resource I'm going to give you is continuous cost and sustainability optimization. And as someone working in the cloud, you have to be conscious of the costs. And if you can show that you understand how your decisions affects the cost, you're going to really stand out in your interview. Another one is the general emerging data. So this one I really recommend for people new to the cloud. Just do it because it's going to just show you a bit more about the cloud and like the baby steps towards the cloud. And the third one is, I'm just going to give you a random fun YouTube video called Event-Driven Architectures. It's presented by Eric Johnson, who's an awesome speaker. Check it out, it's quite cool. Thank you very much for watching this video. I wish I had known this list before joining the cloud or before joining AWS, because this would have helped me significantly when going in towards and working in the cloud. So I hope this has helped you. I'm going to release another video soon for more intermediate and advanced levels for different domains and verticals within tech, so make sure to check those ones out. Thank you for watching this video.